What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. I have done it. We have made the Incinerate build. And it's okay. It's just okay. So, we're going to go over the build here. Some changes that I think could be made to make it a little bit better. Some of the issues with it. Some of the benefits of it. And ultimately, at the end, I want to talk about a little bit of theory crafting on how I think Blizzard should change Incinerate. Because honestly, it's not as good as Firewall, unfortunately. And I wish it was, because it's fun as hell to use. Just blasting enemies with this giant flame beam. Let's get into it. Alright, so I'm going to go a little bit into the rotation and some of the damage of the build before I jump into the full build. I am running Ice Blades because I was running Talrashus for a little bit there. But I kept it on just because it's nice being able to reset cooldowns a little bit lower. So for Meteor and my ults and Teleport and Flame Shield up. So yeah, that helps out a little bit. But this is for single target. This is on the boss dummy, and I'll show you kind of how it deals. So rotation, we're going to spawn our Ice Blades, 2 Meteors, ult, and start incinerating. After our ult is up, we're going to be popping our Flame Shield to gain Unstoppable for our Talts to burst out a little bit more damage. And then when Meteor resets, we're going to use both our Meteors, Ice Blades again, and then continue. This works out pretty well because you start spawning a lot of Firewalls and a lot of Meteors with both of those enchantments. As you can see, the boss damage is a little so-so. It's not horrible, but it's definitely, once we get those X-Fall procs, it hits pretty hard. Where the real damage is when we start to scale with multiple targets. So we're going to do the exact same thing. And you can see we get kind of a lot of X-Fall procs thrown in there for a couple million damage each, which is very nice when you're dealing with multiple targets. One of the issues I do have with Incinerate is we're not proccing Firewall nearly as much for the Firewall enchantment. That is one issue I have. I think Incinerate has way too low of a lucky hit, and it should be proccing a lot more. This is 5 targets, so one target, it definitely lacks a little bit of damage. Alright, so first I will start with all the gear I am running. I'm going to be running the Starfall Coordinate for the Meteor damage. Unfortunately for me, it did low roll for my ranks to Meteor, and my cooldown is a little bit on the high side. I have ran so many Beast and Ice, and I cannot get a better one. But this one's doing the job perfectly fine for now. I have been mixing it up with the chest a little bit. I'm currently running Disobedience with 3 damage reduction and a total armor chest piece for the survivability. I was playing around with Soulbrand a little bit and decided to swap to this because I wanted more damage on my Amulet. So this is currently what I'm running for my chest piece, just for survivability. This is also another thing that I've been playing around with, but I have pretty much almost perfect gloves. Good lucky hit, crit chance, ranks of Incinerate, and fire damage over time. I am running the 3 curses aspect on here for the extra damage with Meteor. It seems like Meteor is one of my hardest hitting abilities in this entire build, and this helps out a lot just getting those big crits and the extra damage. So I have also been swapping out Meteorites, Fall Around Meteor. This does proc X-Falls a lot more, being able to get a constant another burn on enemies. So this is something that you can play around with and throw this into either the glove spot or on the offhand spot. But we'll talk about more of that when we get to it. Next, Talts. I got lucky, got a full max roll Talts. Works out really well. Your Flame Shield applies it, and your Teleport applies it. So this is excellent. While casting Incinerate, you're able to cast Flame Shield, which will give you that 40% damage while never stop casting. So this is excellent, and if right now my build is pretty much perfect with not running out of resource, but if you are having trouble with resource, this helps out a ton. Just being able to proc this, get some resource back, and you don't have to worry about stopping to cast abilities. And on our boots, pretty straightforward. Mana cost reduction, movement speed, all stats, and then the last stat doesn't really matter that much. I just got something random in there to help out a little bit after I kill elites while farming, that I can just move quicker. Lucky hit chance, increased while you have a barrier, excellent. I'll show at the end of this, but we have a ridiculous amount of lucky hit, which is helping proc our enchantments. We have pretty much a perfect flame scar. It's funny, I was farming Duriel a good amount, got no good flame scars, and I ended up getting this at the end of a vault. So you can see damage with burning's high, lucky hit chance is high, max mana cost reduction is high, and ranks to Incinerate max rolled, along with the max roll on the fire damage itself. And 925. This is a ridiculous flame scar. Pretty much the best you can get. It's just, I just wish it did more damage, unfortunately. But this is just perfect. And then we are jumping over to our Amulet. 3 ranks to Mastery, 3 ranks to Devouring Blaze for that crit damage, mana cost reduction, and total armor. Probably the most important thing on this is the total armor, to be honest. You are kind of squishy, especially since if you want to run Soulbrand, and Talts and your Starfall, you just need as much armor as you could possibly get. While in dungeon, I'm running around like 12,000 to 14,000 armor, somewhere in between there, depending. But yeah, you need some survivability. And then I'm running, while channeling Incinerate, your burning damage is increased by 60%, and it's multiplicative. So this helps out a lot, especially when you're proccing a ton of firewalls, and your X-Falls is doing a ton of damage. So this is very nice. I also got very lucky while running Duriel, and I got Ring of Starless Skies. Sorry. Stats on it are fantastic. It got reworked. Primary resource, reduce your cost of your skills and increase your damage by 10% for 3 seconds, up to 40. So you're pretty much just getting a 40% damage multiplier all the time. It's absolutely fantastic. If you do not have this, I would run... as I said, I don't have any issues when it comes to resources. So I would probably end up running the Meteorites Fall on a ring, and you would kind of want to go kind of same stats, crit chance, crit damage, lucky hit, and then you could pretty much put whatever you want for the 4th stat. And that will work out wonderfully for you for damage. And the other necessary for this build is going to be X-Falls. Once again, I got really good rolls on this for the lucky hit, cooldown reduction, and all stats. Unfortunately, damage over time low rolled, but not a big deal. And I got a max roll for the damage of X-Falls. So this has been great. It's been proccing for easily over 1 million every single proc, and it helps with that boss damage, which is very necessary. And on to the Offhand. We have double lucky hit, which is pretty much necessary. Well, not necessarily necessary, but I would prefer to run it on for that extremely high lucky hit chance. Crit chance is really helpful for your meteors and your X-Falls. And then I just have intelligence on there. I would prefer resource generation or mana cost reduction. But as I said, I'm not having any issues whatsoever with resources. So honestly, the intelligence is just fine for scaling burn damage a little bit more. And for the aspect, I am running the Conceited. I do have a max roll Conceited in my stash, but I just don't even feel like changing it because the 1% damage, whatever at this point. And just to show you stats, I unfortunately don't have Shadow Resist maxed out, but crit chance is up around 40%. Also from my Construct, I'm getting more. I probably should go over the Construct. So I'm running Tempest, Efficiency Support for crit chance, Resource to give me back some of my mana, and Breaking Support to apply Vulnerable for me. And if I run into the Butcher, or if I'm running Barshan or whatever, it takes off barriers for me, which is nice. And then we're running Flash of Adrenaline. This gives me a permanent 16% damage multiplier up at all times because it is on a 12-second cooldown, and it applies it for 12 seconds for me. So this is very nice. I'm running the decreased cooldown along with the duration skill reduction. Increase, which is making this so it's just up all the time. And then just for some survivability, I'm just putting on damage reduction for me for 6.6 seconds. Helps it so it's pretty much up half the time that this is up. It's nice. You could also run the one for Fortify in this spot, just because it is a longer cooldown. It will give you a good amount of Fortify, especially while you have barriers up all the time. You're not losing that Fortify nearly as much. So this is very nice to get max Fortify while running dungeons. And back over to our stats. I'm going to scroll down so we can see the max lucky hit. As you can see, 91.8 lucky hit chance bonus, and then a 28.7 while we have a barrier. This is absolutely ridiculous. If we swap over to Soulbrand as well, this just adds on another, I believe it's like 13% lucky hit while we have a barrier, giving us over 100% lucky hit chance. You would think it'd be proccing a ton more with Incinerate, but unfortunately, it doesn't really proc as well as you would think. With only a 17% lucky hit chance, yeah, it's kind of depressing, honestly, that it doesn't proc more. But it procs enough to get our enchantments going. Also, as I said, I'm running the Firewall enchantment, and I'm running the Meteor enchantment for damage. Onto the skill tree. So, we are just running 2 points into our basic just to get down to the next level. We got up to 16 ranks in Incinerate. We were running the enemies deal less damage while they're burning from Incinerate, which this is great for survivability. I'm just running, I had an extra 3 points, so I ran it over into Elemental Dominance. I got 2 points into there just for the extra damage. We want 1 point for Flame Shield all the way up to the mana cost reduction while Flame Shield's active. Once again, helps with not running out of mana while we're spamming our Incinerate. Ranks into teleport gives us that damage reduction and some movement because unfortunately we have to sit still for Incinerate. So this really helps being able to teleport in and get in front of mobs to be able to drop your entire burst. And after you're done incinerating, if your teleport's back up, you're able to teleport out just to move a little bit quicker. Always got to rank out Glass Cannon. And then we are also maxing out the Lucky Hit chance, along with 3 points into our Ice Blades to get the Enhanced Ice Blades. Or sorry, Summoned Ice Blades. And that'll help us keep our cooldowns a little bit lower. And then 1 point into the Aligning Elements just to get over to Mana Shields and our Protection. Once again, you always need Protection just because you need that barrier every time you use a cooldown, which is absolutely fantastic to have permanent uptime on your barrier. Down into our mastery skills, we are running 11 ranks into Meteor, along with Meteors Fall Faster. I would have a couple more ranks, but unfortunately, well, one more rank, but unfortunately, the helmet low rolled for me. I was, instead of before I got to bolts, running pretty much perfect pants with ranks to Meteor, full 4 ranks, and then 4 ranks to Firewall as well. So these were actually up a lot higher, which was dealing pretty good damage, but the 40% damage multiplier on the bolts are just fantastic. 3 points into Inner Flames, and we got 3 points into Devouring Blaze, and we get an extra 3 from our Amulet. Firewall, pretty much maxing this out to 8 ranks. Increase burning damage while they're standing in Firewall. And enemies continue burning after leaving Firewall. This is great for running dungeons because you're able to move forward, leave your firewalls behind pretty much as you just incinerate past them. And yeah, they pretty much die chasing after you, which is nice. Also works the same for Firewall builds where you're able to just put them behind you and keep running. It makes it a little bit faster with the Incinerate build. We are running the ultimate, Inferno, to pull them all in and make it so they cost no mana while we're casting Incinerate after our meteors. So, pretty straightforward, just nice. And last but not least, we are running Combustion. This is very nice with the meteorites because you gain that extra little damage for more sources of burning. Also having the unique item for Incinerate, the little cinders it sends out, also increases the burning damage. For a while, I was running, instead of Ice Blades, I was running the Hydras, just for the extra burning damage, and was applying one more. But realistically, I think it's more beneficial to have your meteors and your other cooldowns up more often. And if you're running Talrashus, if you don't get a Ring of Star Skies or something, you can run this just to get more damage multipliers by applying different types of damage. Between your Teleport, Ice Blades, and then your Fire damage, you're getting 45% at all times. So, onto the Paragon board. So, we're going to move right up into our first glyph, and we're going to grab Adept. This is going to give us the Mastery skill increased range, along with damage for it. I don't think I have this maxed out yet. I do not. So, unfortunately, it's losing a little bit of Mastery damage, but it's just additive. It doesn't really matter that much. As long as we're getting the increased area, it's good. You can run something else here just to get a bigger multiplier, because when you spread out your Mastery skills, they actually deal less increased damage because they're bigger, hitting more targets, instead of just like a smaller target. So you can run something else, but this is just a nice way of farming to proc a lot of X-Falls on a much different targets. And then we are going to move up into the Enchantment Master board. We are going to be putting our Torch in here to gain the multiplier for nearby burning enemies up to 12%. This is really nice to just get a multiplier while cruising through dungeons. Pretty easy to put a good amount of points into here. I have 39 points just for the extra increase burning damage, just additive. And then we're going to jump up, grab a couple nodes on our way up because we had a couple extra points. And we're going to grab the Enchantment Master. Just makes it better for proccing firewalls and for more meteors while bursting. We're then going to make our way up into the Searing Heat board. We are going to put Pyromaniac in here. And we are going to get extra fire damage while we channel Incinerate or cast Pyromancy skills for like our meteor and our ultimate. This also is going to give us a increase fire damage multiplier for our fire damage over here, which just scales nicely. And it's pretty easy just to jump into the tree and immediately leave up and go into other boards. We don't have to jump around and put a lot of points into it. We're going to come up here and grab the Searing Heat Legendary node for this extra crit chance. And for extra damage bonus with our damage with fire, which is 21% extra, which is nice. Also going to grab the fire damage up here to help that. We're going to come through the middle and jump over to the next board, which is going to be our Burning Instinct. We are going to max this out because this is our destruction. We want as much crit damage as possible. And yeah, this is the best dexterity board, so max this out and then work our way down to the Burning Instinct, which is probably going to be one of our biggest damage multipliers. Burning damage is increased by 10% of your critical strike damage bonus, plus 1% for every 25 intelligence you have, which, as you can see, it's a 56% multiplicative damage bonus, which is absolutely ridiculous. So this is a necessary with it. You want to stack as much intelligence as you can, pretty much, and your crit damage. And back over, now we jump to the left. We're going to be jumping into the Ceaseless Conduit board. We're only jumping in here for the glyph spot. We're going to get our Flame Feeder in here just for the 10% multiplier for direct damage to burning enemies. Don't really need to worry about putting too many points into this for the additive damage. We're just trying to get in, grab what we need, and get out. I don't even take any of the rare nodes in this because we're not dealing lightning damage besides our teleport. Doesn't really matter. And then we're going to jump down into our last board, where I unfortunately do not have this maxed out, but it is reinforced. Oh wait, I actually did max this out. Okay, for our reinforced, just want to grab quick willpower, come in. This is just going to give us a little bit extra resistances to all elements. As you can see, we have that, the 95% bonus to all rare. So it's a nice, quick, easy board, and it's going to give us damage reduction while we have barrier, which is up all the time. So survivability is definitely important, and when you're running past, 95 plus nightmare dungeons and vaults, this helps out a ton. You need the survivability. So just to talk about a little theory crafting, I very much enjoy Incinerate. I think it's fun. I think it's a pretty decent build. As you can see in some of the gameplay, it does melt things, especially with X-Fall procs. One thing I have an issue with is, as you can tell, the lucky hit chance is a little bit on the low side. Not only is it very weak, having to channel this ability as it is, it doesn't deal nearly as much damage as it needs to while you're standing still, and it honestly just kind of just doesn't do what it needs to do. There should be ridiculous bonuses for standing still for so long. You should gain a ton of increased damage just for doing so. If we look here into the skill tree, we can see that 17% isn't that much. It deals increased damage as it ramps up, but this should be probably like 2 or even 3x'd because it's not beneficial. Why would it matter when you can stand still and just cast Firewall? It has a 61% lucky hit chance over the course of its entire duration, but used on bosses, it procs X-Falls just a ton more. It is so much more for Firewall, which is one of the reasons it's such a strong build. And having a bunch of different benefits with it, like, for example, they take increased burning damage while standing in it, and they continue burning even when they run out of it. Incinerate's nice where you can spray them as they run away, but Firewall just, one, deals more damage in general while they're standing in the entire thing, deals more burning damage, I feel, and it's just easier. You can just cast it, walk away, cast it, walk away, cast it, walk away, and just run through dungeons without even having to stand still and worry about getting hit. As you can see in some of the gameplay, I get hit by boars constantly, and unfortunately, as I said, I did need to go on more of the survivability side, so I do die quite a bit, and that's only a 78, which is the sad part. But that's one of those things you can play around a little bit, and you can put the new Juggernaut aspect on your Amulet, which helps out a ton. So I think, not to mention, if we jump over and we look at the unique for Flamescar, or unique for Incinerate Flamescar, it shoots out embers, which is a cool concept. But they don't do enough damage. Like, these should be 10x'd. I mean, it's just kind of depressing how little damage they do. Even scale with fire damage, they don't hit very hard. Now, it does give another source of burning, but it doesn't do enough. It just doesn't do enough. I'm going to be making a video shortly here where I'm going to go over some unique ideas that Blizzard could kind of explore, because right now this unique is not fun. It doesn't change gameplay. You use Incinerate exactly how you did. The only good part about this is you gain 7 ranks to Incinerate. That is it. Other than that, it doesn't change the skill. It doesn't make it more fun to use. It doesn't even really make it that much more powerful. And that's a flaw in their unique system that I think needs to be changed. So, hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know if you tried Incinerate or if you want to try Incinerate. At this point, I would recommend just going Firewall. If you want stronger, if you want fun, Incinerate's great. You just blast enemies with a laser beam of fire. It's great. But it's still not strong enough. We need some kind of aspects to benefit channeling and standing still besides intercom, I think, is the aspect where you gain damage while multiplicative damage while standing still. It's still not good enough when I can just run conceded and have that up all the time. What are you going to do? But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, or if you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.